Did you know that 66% of men are single while 34% of women are single? But the million dollar question is, why does this happen? You know, I've lived all over the world. I've been in Bali, I've been in Vegas, I've been in Mexico, Australia, Fiji, all parts of the world. And there's something strange that happens. Although most men use these stats as an excuse, I've noticed with myself and my own personal experience, some of the clients I've worked with, that although this is happening, some men are actually very successful, yet other men are completely struggling and have no idea how to date or how to get with a woman. Well, today I'm going to break down exactly why this is happening and why you need to switch these specific things in order to start getting the dating life that you want. I'm Matthew Manning. Welcome to the Great Men Are Built channel, where I help men in their 30s get into a long-term relationship. Now, today I'm going to break down the specific things of why this is happening. So, the first concept, the first thing that you need to understand is this idea of hypergamy. Now, if you haven't looked at this, I'm going to be doing videos deep on this, but this is a very important topic to understand. Hypergamy is really what it's called is like natural dating selection. So in simplest terms, think about it as women are looked to date up. Okay, so there's this there, if you ever get a chance to type it into Google, just type in hypergamy and you'll see the graph. But essentially what it is what's happening on Tinder right now. You'll see this on dating apps. This is why most men are struggling with dating apps. I actually recommend, if you are a 7 or lower in looks, I wouldn't go on dating apps. It's just because of hypergamy. So hypergamy is this idea where women want to date up. So what you'll see is, like, say there's women on this side and men are on this side, right? Women will they're either attract, and this is the other crazy thing. Women aren't really attracted to their same level. So let's say a woman is a 4 overall. She's not really going to be attracted to a guy that's a 4. She'll date him, but what she prefers is to date a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and date up. Whereas men, they're okay to date down. Men don't care about dating. They prefer to date at their level or up. But and by the way, for hypergamy, most of the time men won't, or men will have a challenge dating up. Though this is where imposter syndrome starts to come in. This is where insecurities start to come in. Whereas men will date from, if a man's a 10, he'll date a 10, he'll date a 9, he'll date a 6, a 4, he'll date downwards. It doesn't matter, right? Because men are more so focused on procreation, whereas women are more so focused on status and resources. And comes down to their biological drives, which are related to her survival purposes and her reproductive purposes. So women are constantly seeking stronger providers. And this is innate in their wiring, in their cave women brains. So one of the things we got to understand when we're getting into the dating landscape is we got to understand these unconscious things within the mind or within the biology as well. So I like what Sigmund Freud said. He said, don't study the conscious mind, study the unconscious mind. So when you can start studying women from a psychological level or a biological or an evolutionary psychology level, these things won't be as complicated. And then you'll understand why these are happening, and then you can start hacking them, essentially, right? You can start hacking status, which is really important. So women within hypergamy, in its simplest terms, it's basically a dating someone higher status or higher value than they are. That's really where it comes down to. And a perfect example of this is if you look at what's called the SMV graph, which is the sexual market value. All right. So let's say that there's on the y-axis rates, how high they are in attractive level, so 1 to 10, and on the y-axis is the age. Okay. So if you look at this, and I encourage you to do this as well, type into Google the SMV graph, very powerful. So let's look at a woman from basically her peak attractiveness level starts to go up around 15. Okay, so her attractive level goes up and she peaks at 23 years old. And then if you look at a man, he doesn't even begin to get on the charts till about like 22, 23. And then it's a slow, gradual climb up to 36. And then when he peaks, so when a man is at a sexual prime, he's at 36 years old. This is, by the way, this is all in the unconsciousness, okay? This is all unconscious in the psyche. This is also why you see when men get casted as roles, it's basically like if you look at James Bond, when he got casted, he gets casted in his 30s. Like if you look at Daniel Craig, I think his first video or his first movie that he was casted in, I think he was like 34 or something like this. So when they cast male roles for leads, it's generally later in life. But if you look at what they cast, like let's say like Megan Fox when she was in Transformers, right? Like she got casted at like I think like 22 or something like this, right? So Hollywood plays on this, but there's a reason why. Do you know what? Do you ever ask yourself like why is a woman younger attractive? Do you ever ask yourself on an evolutionary psychological level, why is a woman more attractive when she's younger? Well, it comes down to your biology, estrogen. So these are the reasons why we like their breasts perky and the butts big is because it signals fertility. And so this is why women, after they get past a certain age, they start to lose their attraction. And I saw this deeply in Vegas. Once women go past their 30s, they kind of lose their attraction. And at the unconscious level, now this is, again, this is all at the unconscious level, but at the unconscious level, men are success objects and women are beauty objects. So when we're looking at our unconscious evolutionary, psychological, biological drives, and we look at this through the SMV graph, this becomes very powerful. So you need to understand that basically in the dating pool is through hypergamy. So why is that? How does that relate? Well, men don't even start to become attractive till like begin begin to come attractive to around 25. Like that's the beginning of their journey where women have already been attractive 10 years before. So you ever look at this, right? Like that's why you see older men dating younger women. I don't know about you, but in my high school, I always used to get frustrated by like, how do these girls just keep going for the older guys? They never want to talk to me. They don't find me attractive. But then as I got older, I went for the younger ones too. And I realized, oh yeah, I didn't know that this was happening because I didn't have this video, but I didn't know that, oh, this comes down to hypergamy. So you got to understand this is why majority of men are single earlier on, where as opposed to women, because women are naturally can date upwards and they're attractive, their peak attraction levels are a lot higher at 30 or sorry at 23, whereas men's attraction doesn't even begin. But the power with men is that men women burn hot and go cold really quickly. So what that means is their attraction levels go up really quickly when they're young, but they go down really quickly, which is obviously unfortunate. But you see this in Vegas unconsciously, right? Where women that aren't attractive don't get as many doors opened to them. I saw that personally. And then as men grow, they start to grow their resources, they start to grow themselves financially, they start to build their minds, they start to build their bodies. By the way, right? Like if you look at a 18-year-old body collectively, right? Relative to a 28-year-old body or a 30-year-old body, like that someone's stayed in shape. I know my body, my man body didn't come in till about 28. So, and then it took me 4 years to study this body to be like, how do I eat? How do I train? How do I put on muscle without putting on fat? I know I put on a lot of fat right around 28. I changed my diet and all this stuff, and it got really confusing. So, you go through transitions. And your metabolism as a man will start to get memorized around around between 24 to 28, that range period. So you want to really be mindful of all this. Thankfully, I studied this information before I was getting older. Like right now, like I'm still in my 30s, so I like to learn from people in their 40s or they're in their 50s, like what's coming down the track that I can prepare for so that I can be set up for that. So one of the things I'm studying right now is like I like to study guys that talk about their mind in their 40s, and I like to study guys that talk about their body in their 40s. Like, okay, how can I start preparing my body and train so that when I get to my 40s, I'm not all like achy and all this stuff. And I was able to do that in my 20s for my 30s. So I would encourage you to always listen to people wiser down the track. It would be more helpful. So which leads me to point number 2. So the first point you got to understand is hypergamy. The second point is financial independence. All right. So women have become more and more financially independent. So this is why men are tend to be a bit more single than, well, one of the reasons why they become more single than men is because women are starting to get themselves financially free now. They're starting to make their own wages. I know that right now 58% of college graduates are women, and it's something like 44% are men, and it's declining fast. It's going on the decline. So women are becoming financially independent. If we look at the traditional ways we used to live, women needed to date men, and they needed to marry men in order for them to survive. And that was this like nuclear family that was a structure put in place so that, I mean, obviously we shouldn't go back to the 50s, but this was a, and this is very complex, okay? This stuff's very deep. But back in the day, that nuclear family made women have to date men and have to marry men. And if you think about it, back in the day, in the 1950s, 40s, 20s, you could only date within your actual geographical area, right? Unless you moved geographically, you couldn't date or you couldn't marry, right? So let's say little Susie, I'm in a small town in Canada right now. Like, let's say, for example, back in the 20s, man, this place, there's probably like population of like 4,000. So, okay, so you're in a town probably of 4,000 people, right? And think about your graduating class. Like, who do you have to choose from? You don't have many people to choose from. So you're going to be like, is it Steve, Paul, or Jim? You know, that's like who you get to choose from. But now, because of social media, you can have that same Susie in a population of, now I'm like 80,000 or something, but the whole world's opened up. And so women are getting programmed from all these men around the world thinking like that's what it's going to be like. And here's the crazy part. On the dating apps, women that are like fours, five, sixes will get tens, get with tens, because basically any 10 that a man will date downwards. He doesn't care, especially if it's just casual sex, right? So you got to see how the market is changing. And when you could see this from like a higher level view, it can change your viewpoint and help you decode a lot of this. And so another thing that happens is women, if we look back to the sexual market value graph, women aren't attracted to really men that make the same wage as them. They want to be with a man that makes more money than them. You'll see this. This is why Rihanna dated the, I think it was the CEO of the Toyota's son, and because they want to date someone that's making more money than them. They're just attracted. They don't want to be making more money than them. So this is what's happening. This shift in finances, this shift in education is causing women to basically not be attracted to the majority of men, right? So this is another thing. And then another thing to consider, the third point, is that men are giving up. Men are just basically starting to give up. They're watching porn, they're gaming, they're scrolling, and they're basically just giving up. They've not really gone about uh, building themselves, building their life, any of these types of things. And so men are giving up, and that's why men are becoming single. I think there's something like right now in Japan, I think there's about like 1 million boys that don't even leave their room anymore. They're just on their computer all the time, right? So they're just gaming head down, and they're basically hanging out with their friends online. And like I was talking about, is the challenges because men are giving up, so then they don't go outside, so then they get on dating apps. But like I said, if you don't got your profile sorted out, you don't got your pictures looking good, or if you're just not like a 7 or above, it's a very difficult game to play online, on the online dating world. You got to understand it. There's some deep psychology to understand. So there's some things you got to consider. So what can we do about this? How can we go about changing our life? How can we go about getting the life that we actually want, get into a long-term relationship, get the dates that you're wanting to get on? Well, first of all, we got to start building our life. You have to build your life. It's a vision, it's a mission, it's something that you have to work towards. If I knew this If I knew this when I was younger, I would have spent way more time. And I spend a lot of time on this, by the way, but I would have spent way more time on this. What do I mean by this? Your mind, your body, your soul. You got to be upgrading your mind. You got to be reading books. You got to be downloading YouTube videos. You got to be buying courses. You got to be getting mentorship. You got to be upgrading, constantly upgrading your mind. You want your mind to stay sharp. You want your mind to be built. You want to have women enjoy someone that enjoys a man that has a passion for something, that is intellectual, that has got something there. He's got some substance to him. So you got to be upgrading your mind, your body. You got to. This is you can't miss this one. You got to be building your body. And it doesn't mean you have to be this like fanatical about getting like crazy six packs and all this. No, it's just you got to build your body. Like work towards building your body. Next, have something to go higher than yourself. Learn and study the research on the universe, how the how quantum physics works. Get some sort of faith. Get something to connect to your soul, some sort of spirituality. These are important. Mind, body, soul. We have to be building these. We have to be upgrading them. I want you to consider this. The hard life is the easy life, and the easy life is the hard life. Okay? So it's not hard to stay in your room and play video games. It's not hard to go onto a website and do what you know you're going to do. Okay? That's not hard. What's hard is to build yourself a life and become the man that is attractive, become into that top percent. You wouldn't be watching this video if that wasn't you. And get into that class of men. But that's going to be hard. And by doing the hard things, it actually makes things easier. So you want to do the hard things in this life, okay? And especially as a man, society doesn't care about us. To a certain degree, they don't really care about us. We're replaceable. We're part of the machine. We're soldiers. And that's why the women and the kids get on the boats in the Titanic and the men have to jump into the ocean, right? So that's part of the reality we're in. So we have to understand that that's the reality we're in. So I want you to consider the hard life is the easy life and the easy life is the hard life. And I want you to consider, okay, so you want this type of woman, right? You want to date her. Are you a match? Are you a match to her? And ask yourself that right now. The type of woman that you want, are you a match? Are you the man that you're attracted to? I know I wasn't for a very long time. And I was considering like, why can't I attract a woman? It's like, well, yeah, obviously, because I'm not a match. I'm not the man that is attractive. So you got to work at this stuff. And so one of the things that you can do is make sure you build male friendships. Start off by that. Have a group of friends, have a group of guys that you're around, that you're hanging out with. You want to start building out your social circle. Social circle is really important. Build out your network. You want to be in and amongst people. You need lead flow, right? You need to start getting basically a social circle where you're hanging out with guys, and then you start bringing some girls into that social circle, which is very powerful. So you want to start building out it's really important to build out a life. I want you to consider this, right? Like, how can I build out a life that is attractive, right? Like, what are you doing? What are some things that you're interested in? What are your hobbies? What are the conversations you're having? Who you meeting up with? Where are you going? What you got access to, right? What are the things you got access to in your city, right? What kind of things can you hook people up with? What kind of deals are you getting? And what kind of women are you around, right? We got to start building a life, right? But the good thing about this is the man's attractive level go up and they peak around 36. For me personally, if you take care of your mind and your body and your soul, your attraction levels are going to keep rising, 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 rising well into your 40s. And I'm talking about your height. Think about her. Her peak's at 23. Your peak, like, say, for example, you take care of yourself, you're going to be peaking in your 40s. Like, that's awesome. So what's cool about men is we can instantly increase our attraction levels as we age. As we age. So that's very powerful. You're in a hot seat right now. So take advantage of that. It's very powerful. So set up your phase of life so that you build a life that's attractive. And that's what I want you to do. So if you want help with that, if that's something that you're interested in, click the link below. Let's jump on a call to see if we're fit for some coaching. And I'd love to support you on this. design your life. I do some things with my clients called lifestyle design. We build out a life that's really attractive, that fits you, that's authentic to you, which is very important. It's got to be authentic to you. And we build out this life that's a really attractive life, that's fun, that's enjoyable, that you want to live and that people want to be a part of. So if that's you, click the link below and let's jump on a call. And also, I love to hear what is your thoughts. What do you think's missing? I love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.